Hello everyone, I'm Helen Noble, celebrant of Surrey, founder of Swansong and co-founder of a Healthy Marriage Success course. I give you tips and tricks for all things ceremony, funeral, wedding, namings, as well as insight and just general information. This week I'm talking about host, celebrant, MC, duty manager, wedding coordinator, like that extra person that kind of holds it together. And what do you call them? What do they do? And how do I tie in with all of that? In we go. So, some wedding venues will incorporate a Toastmaster or a host or a wedding coordinator in their paperwork. It will be something that will allude to a person holding the room and herding cats and generally just being useful. But what does that actually mean? How do we break that down? And what do you need to know what you don't know and to ask what questions will give you the answers that you need, and to work out whether it's a wedding or a funeral or a naming, if that is a service you need. So, with a wedding hat on, you have your ceremony. Then, if I am just on celebrant duty, I might stay for the confetti, have a little canapé and a champagne, give you a chin chin, take a picture, and then that's me gone, off I go. But if I am hosting, then I will tend to stay on till the first dance, if you were doing a first dance, because I stay on to keep that thread of all things ceremonial until the ceremony stuff is all over and you just go straight into the party. So it might include the cake cutting, it might include speeches, it might include the first dance, it might include all of it, as well as the confetti and herding cats for a group shot and supporting the photographer. Now, some venues will offer you a Toastmaster, or you might seek out your own Toastmaster. A traditional Toastmaster are those people, male or female, tend to be male, but there are a couple of brilliant female Toastmistresses, I guess. I don't know if they call themselves a Toastmaster. Don't know. The red jacket, and it has that very formal ceremonial feel. And they would come in, when I've done it in the past, they've come in towards the end of the ceremony. Some have been there before the ceremony and called people into the ceremony. And some have, yeah, I've got a few horror stories, so I won't do those. I've also got some lovely stories. But what it's done is it's made me realise that there is a lack of clarity to what you think you need, what you do need, what you don't need, what you want, what you think you want, and what you're actually going to get. So, Toastmaster, professional, they have their own guild, they belong to Toastmastery circles, and they go and do training with each other. Well, they don't have to. The good ones do, because, like good celebrants, you could live in a bubble of party for one and never see how other celebrants or other Toastmasters do their job. But good Toastmasters and good celebrants will look outside their own bubble and box, watch other celebrants, check in with themselves where they are in the industry, and know that they are genuinely wherever they are without kind of guessing or hoping they are where they're at. So a Toastmaster is more ceremonial, they're more formal, they have a uniform, they have a way of talking and speaking. There are different ways and different vibes, of course, like with all things within the industry, there is always more than one way of doing it. But the Toastmaster is a more formal vibe, and some venues have that as part of their package. Doesn't mean you have to take it, but some venues have that as part of their package. Now, I'm not a Toastmaster, but I do host. And that has come about because I love it. Now, if the venue say that they have a on the day wedding coordinator that they provide, that is really helpful and good to know, because they are the ones that keep the logistics running to time, but their priority is the venue and how they perform and getting the food out on time, making sure everyone's plate is the correct serving and all the, all that stuff. Their priority isn't you, your vibe, your guests, your energy, your story, because they belong to the venue. So their loyalty is, of course, to the venue and to make sure the venue deliver on what you want. But they do and will get pulled away if there is a problem with the venue, be the toilets, the service, the menu, whatever, because they've got to make sure they're going in and out the kitchen to make sure that's all happening. For me as a host, I am 100% yours. The venue do their thing, and I do my thing with you. Whether that is doing more of the MC, the Master of Ceremonies, because I've been holding the room for the ceremony, everyone has got to know me. We transition from the ceremony to the confetti to the nibbles. I'm getting to know everybody. I'm talking. I'm hearing little nuggets of information that might be really good for in between the speeches. I'm connecting with your people, like your best people, that you might think, oh yeah, can you give a little shout out to so and so? They may not be doing a speech, but at least they get incorporated into the day. So I am there for you and your people and your vibe and your energy, and to continue making it a personal experience and holding the room while everyone does their thing. So I love doing that. That is the host slash MC. The other, so sorry, just to recap, Toastmaster, official, grown up. Like, I always think it's very adult, and I'm like, oh, it's all very grown up. So yeah, I don't come with a red coat, but if you want that vibe, there are some very good ones out there. Do check them out. Do look carefully, and do go for recommendations. The venues, if they have their own person, they're in it for the love of the job. They're not in it pretty much for any other reason. But just remember that their loyalty is to the venue because they want to make sure they deliver their job as venue coordinator for your wedding. So their loyalty is to the venue and making sure it runs smoothly, which I love. And I'm, as a host and MC, as in Master of Ceremonies or Mistress of Ceremonies, I suppose, or Madam of Ceremonies. I don't like that. That's why I say host and not MC. I host you and your guests in the way that you want, with those public speaking gems, energy, techniques that I've got over the years from 20 years in theatre, from running pubs, from being on the door back in uni days. That was always fun. You could always spot, you're like, oh, they're going to get drunk and messy. Keep my eye on them. Yeah, being on the door at the uni, that was quite insightful. And running pubs and running venues. I just know how it works. And you can read the room and you get the energy, and I love it. But for you and your wedding, it is really important that you have a think about that and do ask the questions when you're booking the venue and they say, oh, it comes with the venue coordinator. Be really clear on what that is, because what they think they're doing and what you think they're going to do might not marry up. And everyone wants to be able to manage their expectations. It's not that they might overachieve or underachieve. You just want to know what is it they are going to achieve. And is that plenty? And you're like, cool, that's all we need. Lovely jubbly, we can do the rest. Or do you want a little bit more? If you are going to have a wedding planner, again, they will liaise with the venue coordinator if you're having a Toastmaster, if you're having the celebrant, and then I'm celebrant to host. Apologies for the jumps. My doorbell kept ringing. And I also realised I sound quite hoarse, but that's because I've had a swimming gala and I've been that mum screaming. And I've also had 2 ceremonies this week. So I shall have some more lozenges and do some gargling ahead of tomorrow's wedding. But moving on, actually that brings me nicely round to the hosting and as a celebrant, because I am hosting tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm hosting pre-wedding, because they are having me as a host, then the marriage with a registrar, and then me as a celebrant, and then me hosting a little bit more. So I'm sort of doing a sandwich day, which is really exciting. But it means they get everything they want. They keep the energy up, they keep the continuity with me, seeing it all the way through. They get the connection between all that's going on. But also, as the host, before the registrar arrives, when the guests are coming for pre-ceremony drinks, I get to mingle, meet people, introduce people to people that are the speakers, but in that host MC capacity. And I will say to everybody, shortly we're going to hand you over to the registrars. I'm going to become a wedding guest. And then when they are married, the first thing they're going to do is have a wedding. And then I come back up, I put my celebrant hat on, and then once they walk down the aisle, they go off for their photos. I shimmy over to where the reception is, and I put my host hat back on, and I liaise with the venue and all that jazz. So have a think about what it is that you need. Have a think about what it is that, as a value, is important to you. Is it continuity? Is it energy? Is it connection? Or is it that you're quite happy with, the bish, bash, bosh? There's that, there's this, then there's that. And you don't need to have that overarching continuity, for example, that would be me. So just have a think. Look at your contract if you've already booked your venue, see what that entails, go a little bit deeper and see what you're actually getting in case there's any holes in the service that you think, actually, no, I'm a bit worried that if the person from the venue gets called away, there is no one actually to call people in. And that's where the trust in the venue and their professionalism will hopefully step up, and they'll say, okay, I know you've been pulled away to food, but we actually need to get the guests into this room, and therefore we need to do some jiggery pokery. And if the venue are top notch, they will sort that out and you'll be none the wiser, hopefully. That's the dream, isn't it? But that's for today. It also works with funerals. So yesterday I was the celebrant, but then I went on to host. We had a ceremony in the ceremony room. Then we went down to the plot and did a burial. And then after the burial, I let everyone stay. I said, this is your time. Spend your time with her, blah, 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 blah. And I will see you at the celebration of life. I then got in the car, drove to the other venue, and then was there ready to welcome the extra 100 or so plus that weren't at the ceremony, the hundreds that were coming from the ceremony, and have that continuity and be able to welcome the people that hadn't come to the actual funeral, re-welcome the people from the funeral, and then host a kind of celebration of life, which worked really, really well. It was for a young girl, so there was lots of emotions in the room, lots of teenagers, but having me throughout that entire day was really important to the family because they knew that everyone was going to feel wobbly. And so I was there to help everyone feel safe. And at the end of it, they were coming up to me saying, gosh, I didn't think I'd enjoy today, but it's been incredible. I feel lighter and I feel full of gratitude. And that's down to how you've delivered today, which is amazing. And of course, it made me cry and I was in bits. But that just shows the power of being able to have the skill that I have with hosting and celebrancy and holding the room and connection and communication and just genuinely loving a love story, whatever is the story, naming, funeral, wedding, whatever order or whatever stage you're at, or whatever rite of passage it is that you're celebrating. So have a think, have a look. What's important to you? How do you want that to feel? And then you know which kind of questions to ask, whether it's you're asking your venue, your celebrant, your MC, your Toastmaster, your wedding coordinator, your wedding planner, or just reach out and contact me. There we go. Hit the bell, subscribe, weekly goodness coming at you. Lots of love. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.